You are standing in the cereal aisle at the grocery store. Not because you want to be there. You're doing the math. Again, in your head, you are running the same calculation you have been running every week for the last 2 years. The box that used to cost $3.49 is now $6.19. It has not gotten bigger. It has actually gotten smaller. They call it shrinkflation, but the price went up anyway. You put the box back. You grab the store brand. Then your phone buzzes. It is a notification from your bank. Your paycheck hit, and for 1 second, you feel a small wave of relief. Then it disappears, because you already know where every dollar is going before it even lands. Rent, car payment, the credit card minimum, not the full balance, just the minimum, because that is all there is room for. Gas, utilities that went up again, and somewhere buried in there groceries. The store brand ones. You are not broke. You have a job. You show up. You work hard. And yet somehow every month, you end up in the exact same spot, treading water, not drowning, but never actually getting anywhere. And here is what nobody on the news will say out loud. That feeling, that grinding, exhausting, what is wrong with me feeling, is not a personal failure. It is not because you did not hustle hard enough or save enough in your 20s or make the right financial moves. It is because you are living through stagflation, a once-in-a-generation economic trap that is crushing workers from 2 directions at the same time. The system is working exactly as designed. And today, we are going to show you the blueprint. Let's talk about what stagflation actually is. Because the word gets thrown around, but nobody explains why it is specifically a trap designed to extract everything from working people. Stagflation is when 3 things happen at the same time. Prices go up, jobs disappear, and economic growth flatlines. In normal economics, these things are not supposed to coexist. In normal downturns, when people lose jobs and stop spending, prices go down. The basic supply and demand logic kicks in. But stagflation breaks that logic. Prices go up and opportunities shrink. You're getting squeezed from both sides simultaneously. Think of it as a financial vice. One jaw of the vice is inflation. The cost of every single thing you need to survive keeps climbing. Groceries, rent, gas, insurance, energy bills. The other jaw is a stagnant job market. Fewer new positions, frozen wages, and the quiet understanding that if you push too hard for a raise, there is a line of people behind you who will take your spot. And the Federal Reserve, the one institution with the power to fight back, is paralyzed. To fight inflation, they raise interest rates. But raising rates kills jobs and growth. To fight unemployment, they cut rates. But cutting rates fans the inflation fire. They literally cannot press the gas and the brake at the same time. Now here is where it gets personal. And this is the part that nobody teaches you. When you are living under financial pressure, when you are doing the grocery store math every week, when you are calculating whether you can afford a doctor's visit, your brain enters what behavioral economists call the Scarcity Tunnel. Research from Princeton and Harvard found that when people are under financial stress, they experience the cognitive equivalent of losing 13 IQ points. Not because they are less intelligent, because the brain is so consumed by the immediate crisis, the rent due Friday, the credit card minimum, that there is no bandwidth left for long-term thinking. You cannot plan strategically when you are in survival mode. The Scarcity Tunnel is not a mindset failure. It is a measurable, documented neurological response to economic pressure. And here is the trap inside the trap. When you are in the Scarcity Tunnel, you are more likely to take out a high-interest loan, more likely to accept a bad job offer, more likely to stay at a job that underpays you because the anxiety of change feels worse than the certainty of stagnation. The economic stress manufactures your own compliance. You become easier to exploit, not because of who you are, but because of what the pressure does to your decision-making architecture. This is not an accident. This is the system working as designed. This is not theoretical. The data from right now, March 2026, is staggering. The January jobs report showed the U.S. economy lost 92,000 jobs. The forecast was a gain of 55,000. That is not a miss. That is a collapse. And the national unemployment rate has now climbed to 4.4%, a level not seen in years. At the exact same time, energy prices are surging toward triple digits per barrel due to geopolitical instability in the Middle East. Every time crude oil spikes, it flows directly into everything you buy: gas, shipping costs, food production, heating bills. KPMG's chief economist described a scenario where the economy shows GDP growth on paper while real working families are absorbing pressure, not from choice but from necessity. Medical bills, insurance, childcare, costs they cannot defer. Spending driven by desperation, not confidence. RBC Capital Markets described what is coming in 2026 as stagflation light. Inflation projected to hit 3.5%, while growth stays under 2%. Slow wage growth, rising prices, and the hardest hit, middle earners. The people who make just enough to not qualify for assistance, but not enough to actually get ahead. A December Bankrate survey found that 62% of employed Americans say their income has not kept up with household expenses. 62%. More than 6 in 10 people with jobs feel like they are falling behind. And among low-wage workers, the ones who made the most gains during the pandemic labor boom, real wages actually declined in 2025. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged it directly, saying Americans are still grappling with embedded higher costs from the 2022 to 23 inflation spike, and that we will need some years of meaningfully higher real compensation before people start feeling financially healthy again. Some years. He said it. Some years. You are not imagining the squeeze. It is documented. It is systemic. And it is happening right now. So who benefits from stagflation? Because if you truly accept that the system is working as designed, then someone somewhere is collecting on your loss. Let's name them. First, the banks and credit card companies. When you cannot cover your expenses because your wages are flat and your costs keep rising, you reach for the card. Credit card debt in the U.S. just hit $1.28 trillion, an all-time record. And the average interest rate on those cards? 23.77%. You are not borrowing because you are irresponsible. You are borrowing because the math of your life requires it. And the moment you carry a balance, the bank turns your financial desperation into a guaranteed income stream. The minimum payment is engineered to keep you on the hook as long as possible. Not to help you get free, to extract the maximum interest before you do. Second, corporations that have learned to profit from a scared workforce. When unemployment rises, even modestly, workers stop asking for raises. They stop pushing back on bad conditions. They accept lateral moves, frozen salaries, and increased workloads with quiet compliance. In a tight labor market, workers have leverage. In a stagflationary one, the employer does. A Fortune analysis documented what economists are calling a K-shaped economy, where corporate profits from current production jumped by $166 billion in a single quarter, while worker investment and wage growth stalled simultaneously. The top of the K keeps rising. You're on the bottom arm. Third, the energy sector. Oil companies and their shareholders profit directly from geopolitical instability. When oil approaches triple digits, the industry surges. When you pay $5 at the pump, that money does not evaporate, it flows upward. The infrastructure of modern life was deliberately built on fossil fuel dependency, ensuring that every crisis in the Middle East becomes a direct tax on your daily commute. You are not caught in the middle by accident. You are placed in the middle. Forget hustle culture. Forget just grind harder. Grinding harder in a stagflationary environment only makes the machine more efficient at extracting from you. Here is what actually works. First, inflation-proof your income, not your spending. Most financial advice tells you to cut expenses during hard times. That is a losing game when inflation is structural. You cannot coupon your way out of a systemic squeeze. Instead, focus on making your income harder to freeze. Build a documented, quantified case for a raise before you need one. Specific projects, specific numbers, specific revenue impact. When you walk into that room, make it a business conversation, not a personal plea. If your employer cannot match inflation, your income is being cut in real terms every single month you stay. Second, attack your highest interest debt first, starting now. At 23% interest, your credit card balance doubles roughly every 3 years. Not metaphorically, mathematically. Every dollar of minimum payment you make goes primarily to interest, not principal. If you can find any surplus, any at all, direct it aggressively toward the highest rate debt you carry. This is not about being good with money. It is about starving the extraction mechanism. Third, build a scarcity tunnel escape hatch. Because the scarcity tunnel impairs your long-term thinking, you need to make important financial decisions before you are in crisis. Set automatic transfers, even $25 a month, to a separate savings account that you do not touch. When the tunnel narrows, That small buffer is the difference between a measured decision and a desperate one. Research shows that even a $400 emergency buffer measurably reduces financial anxiety and improves decision-making quality. This is not about getting rich. It is about maintaining cognitive clarity. Fourth, think in real wages, not nominal ones. If your salary went up 3% and inflation is 3.5%, you got a pay cut. Start tracking your compensation in real terms. The BLS CPI calculator is free and public. Benchmark your actual purchasing power year over year. When you see the real number, you will negotiate differently. You will make different choices. You cannot fight a system you cannot measure. The last time stagflation gripped this country was the 1970s. It took years to break. And in the meantime, a generation of working Americans quietly absorbed the losses, while a smaller group at the top of the economic ladder quietly captured the gains. The structure has not changed. The mechanism has not changed. What can change is whether you understand the game being played. Because the first move in any system designed to extract from you is keeping you convinced that what is happening is your fault. It is not your fault. The house always wins, but only if you keep playing by their rules.